This is the High Performers Club podcast with your host, executive life coach and entrepreneur, Jennifer Kjell. Join Jen as she explores what drives individuals to excel in their careers, sport, personal development, and the pursuit of passions. Our guests share their experiences, challenges, and triumphs en route to success. So grab your notebook and get ready to join the club of high achievers.
Jennifer Jones, the Jade, as we call you, which I recently found out there's another J in there. So it's like foiled everybody's nickname for you.
Yeah, there's 3 J's.
There's 3 J's. So JJ, we can still run with, but there is another one in there. What is that third J for? Jennifer?
Judith Jones. Yes.
Jennifer Judith
And it was
Jones.
named after my Auntie Judy. She was living with us, I think, when I was born, my dad's sister. Yeah, so it was just Jennifer Judith Jones, JJJ.
JJJ. Changes everything for myself and Canada. But I love it. That's a very cute story. Welcome to the High Performers Club podcast. And you are officially my first guest.
Yay!
I know. I'm so excited. I was chatting with Dawn this week, actually, and I said that you wanted to be my first guest. And she laughed and she's like, I love that. This couldn't be more perfect. So getting into it, I just wanted to start out by congratulating you on an incredible career and getting
Thank you.
see all that was, the celebrations and the way people were honoring this entire journey that you've been through at the end of the season was really something special and something very cool to stand on the sidelines and watch. How does it feel now as you reflect on, wrapping it up, tying a bow on an incredible career?
I don't know. That's such a hard question. It was a decision that I thought about for a while, but really came to kind of fruition really quickly. All of a sudden, it just hit me that I think it was time, and so then I made the decision, and it was more than I could have ever imagined. Just the fans and the notes that I received, and just the Scotties what TSN had put together, and then the slams and the Sportsnet and all the memories. And it was way more emotional than I could have ever thought. And I'm super grateful for that. It was just a really good reflection for me to sit back and just think about my career and just the special moments, the teammates, all the interactions. And I've said this recently, I always thought that when I retired, that what I'd miss the most was the smell of the ice, just the feeling of being out there and competing and being with my teammates. But I really think what I'm going to miss most is the interactions. And from an introverted, shy person, I never ever thought that I would say that. But that's what the whole retirement did for me, is just talking to people. And I realized that those special moments where you can interact with people and realize that you have this connection with a complete stranger, that's what I'm going to miss the most. And so I'm hoping that I'll still stay involved in the game somehow and still be able to talk to the fans and the people and my friends and my teammates. And Brent and I are obviously still going to play mixed doubles, but I don't know if it's really set in yet exactly what it's going to be like. I retired, and then we immediately decided to buy a business. And so it's been really busy, and it's starting to sink in now, because now is when we would be planning for next year. And I've got a little bit more free time than I'm used to having. And we're just planning for mixed doubles. So that part's really good. But the kids are still struggling a little bit with it. They're still hoping that I'm going to change my mind. But we're not. So they're just going to come watch mixed doubles events.
I thought it was so interesting. I think Bella and Skyla were more emotional than absolutely anyone watching the process and the celebrations. What do you think it means to them, seeing their mom come through? This is all they've ever known.
It is. And, for some reason, it was really important for me that Skyla would remember curling. And so I wanted to play long enough, and I did. She's 7, so she'll have memories of this, that she could remember it. I didn't realize how sad they would be and how much they loved it. And they've never, ever given me a hard time about going away. They knew it was kind of what I had to do and a part of me. And we're all about dream chasing in our house. We talk about chasing your dreams and just surrounding yourself with people who believe in your dreams. So I think they almost felt like if they told me it was okay to retire, that they would be giving up on my dream. And I kept saying that my dream has evolved. It's okay. I'm good. My dream is now to spend more time with you, to do other things, to find something different to be passionate about. And so they really struggled with it. Like, and even though I'm going to be around more and they're excited about that, they, I don't know, they just really loved watching me do what I love to do. And I really do believe it's because we talk about it a lot in the house that you should do the things that make you happy. And Isabel is so into curling. She loves the strategy. She would come and watch the games and sit with Brent and try to figure out what shot we were going to play next. And so a part of it is over for her now. And I tried to figure out, I know I talked to Skyla and say, so why are you so sad? And she's like, I don't know, Mom. I'm just really sad. So I just, I think it was just because it was a huge part of their life. It's what we did. We'd go watch curling and they would see me and see me smile and doing what I love to do. And we always talk about how important that is for us in our life and what we want for them. And I think they just didn't want me to give up on it. So they were trying to encourage me to continue. And the first thing they said when they came over the boards at the Scotties when it was over was that they asked me to change my mind. They were crying and they're like, please change your mind. Please change your mind. And then I did a media scrum right after. And they're like, so do you think they'll change your mind? And I'm looking at their little eyes and they've got tears in them. I'm like, well, maybe. Like,
That would have been a stunning turn of events.
yeah, it's just, as a mom, you never want to disappoint your kids. And I don't think I ever disappointed them. I truly do believe, like, after reflection, they just want me to be happy and they don't want to be the reason that I quit or that I retired. And they're not. Like, yes, I'm retiring because I want to spend more time with them, but I'm completely satisfied in what I did in my curling life. And I'm ready to take on a new challenge.
It's also a really important lesson and, life event for them to go through the closing of one chapter and starting something new. So not only seeing you chase that dream, but then also that transition is a really good example for them.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. We always talk about filling your buckets, doing all the things every day that will fill your bucket. And I said, curling used to fill a lot of mom's bucket, but now it's changed and you guys fill my bucket. So I'm trying to evolve and change. And I said, you're going to do the same thing. Like Skyla loves to play with Barbies, but one day she's not going to love to do that. And you change and you evolve. And so it's been a really good lesson for them. And I was so happy that they were present at all of those events to be a part of it and to know that every time I stepped on the ice, they were part of it and they were part of it when I said goodbye. And we're just changing what goes in our bucket. And I'm really, I spent a great deal of my adult life giving it to curling. And I don't regret any moments of that. I loved every second of it. I feel it was a huge privilege and I'm super grateful. But I'm also excited for them to see me in a different light. And maybe I'll spend more time, in my career being a lawyer or I don't know, doing other things. And so yeah, like you said, it's a really good life lesson to say, you don't have to just do one thing. You can expand yourself and try new things. And if you don't like that, you can change, you can pivot. And I think pivoting is a part of life.
I will say, standing by and listening to Bella and Brent while they watched your semifinal game at the Scotties was an absolute highlight. And I've spent a lot of time around your children, but to see her evolution in curling and the way she was watching and strategizing on your behalf and the questions she was asking, it was such a cool experience. Also doing it alongside Brent, who absolutely sugarcoats nothing about what was going on the ice. And so it was a, the soundtrack to a stream or commentary that I would tune into. I'm going to add.
She is hilarious.
Oh, it's too much. And with Bella too, who now she could be in a commentator's booth. Like she knows the game inside and out. And I think that is also really cool on her, journey in curling. This is how she's learned it.
For sure. And it's funny. She just started curling this year. So she'll actually go on YouTube and watch old games. She was watching Ed Wernick play Russ Howard, in some Skins game or something from years ago. It's just like, Mom, how come I can't see it clearly? I'm like, honey, that's just videos improved. But yeah, she loves it and she loves the strategy. She always is asking us questions and whoever we're watching, if I was watching Brent or Brent's watching me, asking questions. And so she just started curling this year and it was funny to watch her on the ice because she knows all the lingo and she was trying to get them to directional sweep and who's asking who's shot and second shot. And a lot of these kids just started and they don't they don't know. And that's completely normal. It's just, Bella is just, that's been her life. And she really does want to be a curler. So I do think she'll kind of devote some time. And hopefully now that we have more time, we can take her out and, teach her and have her evolve. And I can't wait to sit back and watch her if that's what she wants to do.
I really love the notion that other kids are just trying to get the rock over the hog line and Bella's calling like run doubles and like
Yeah. And she's like always, she wants to hit the button. Like she gets disappointed if it's just in the 8 foot. Like she loves it. It definitely curling flows through her blood and sitting. I would love to actually record what her and Brent say, because Brent. What people don't know about Brent is he is hilarious. Like he is very witty and like his one-liners, and he's so smart about curling. So that would be a very interesting. I wish I was in your seat. I'm sure he was frustrated with me a few times because sometimes I think I'm a little aggressive for him. So
yeah, I mean, I don't want to botch what it was like and, the actual experience, but the stuff coming out of his mouth and the way that they were speaking to each other was hilarious. So he is, yeah, it was something else. As you were explaining your career, obviously, and you reflect back and it was such a beautiful experience and there's been so many highs. There has also been a lot of adversity that you have had to overcome to get to those really high moments, right? Olympics and World Championships. Right before the 2013 Olympics, and you had an unexpected knee surgery and you had given birth in 2012. What was it like overcoming some of those challenges to get to where you ended up wearing a gold medal around your neck?
yeah, I don't know. And it's funny, like my knee would have been the biggest hurdle. Like, but I think back to I guess 2006 Olympic trials in Halifax. And I had kidney stones. Like I was like a young woman with kidney stones during the trials. It just felt, but I never looked at it like poor me. But the biggest challenge was probably when I did hurt my knee, and I really did think it was career ending. And I give a lot of credit to Brent because he kept saying to me, I remember we were at the World Championship in Switzerland because he was competing there. We were sitting at a cafe and I said, Brent, I don't think I'm ever going to curl again. Like, I just found out from the doctor there that I kind of basically blew out my knee. And he's like, Jennifer, if anybody can do this, like it's you. I've never seen a person more determined, and you can do this. And and after that, I never questioned it. And he was always in my corner and always believed in me. And my team was incredible. I remember telling them that I had hurt my knee uh, and that I was pregnant. So I basically I hurt my knee and literally was probably a couple days pregnant when I hurt my knee. So it was, found out shortly after, and they never flinched. Like they believed in me wholeheartedly. And I really do believe a lot of it was just because I was surrounded with, true teammates and people that would lift you up and be there no matter what. And, but that was definitely the biggest challenge in my curling career, overcoming that. And trying to go through the surgery while pregnant and rehabbing and making sure that I was back in time and ready to go with those Olympic trials. And then we went on to win those trials and the rest is history. But you're a new mom and you're doing all of these things. And yeah, but I don't know, I never felt sorry for myself. I always just felt like it was just kind of one of those things. And I always say that if sport was a guarantee, if life was a guarantee, it would be really boring. It's all these blips and all of these things along the way that make it really interesting and make it unique, and you create your own story. And sometimes the story is not exactly how you want it to go, but you're really looking forward to the next chapter at that point. And, the knee surgery was one chapter, but the following chapter and winning the trials and winning the Olympics made everything so worthwhile. And it just became a part of our journey. And I think it made me feel even more grateful and really was able to be in the moment because I did think my career was over.
What do you think you learned about yourself in that process?
I think I don't even know. I was going to say the biggest thing I learned was, and I knew this, but just to surround yourself with people who care about you and who love you. And even during that challenge, there were some people that didn't think that I could have the surgery while I was pregnant or get back in time to compete at the trials. And I chose not to listen to them or be in their company. And So I think the biggest thing I learned is that surrounding yourself with great friends and people who believe in you and who pick you up will make life exponentially better, just magnify every moment. And especially, with Brent and just having him support me and just realizing the importance of that. But I think for myself, I realized that I'm pretty stubborn and I'm pretty determined. And I think I learned that it's okay to ask for help. I think it was one of the very few times that I ever actually raised my hand. And I remember my physiotherapist making me sign something because I was trying to do too much to get recovered quicker. And he's like, Jennifer, you have to sign this and tell me that you're not going to do anything more than I tell you to do because we've got a plan. I know what I'm doing and we're going to get you back and ready. And that moment actually kind of was changing for me. So like, you know what? He is an expert. Like I don't know how to rehab from a knee surgery and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say that you need a hand and you need some help. And I did then. And I had people who came to help me. And before that, I was just really super independent and I just never wanted to kind of admit vulnerability, I think. And in that moment, I did.
What did it change for you being vulnerable?
I don't know. I think it gave me more confidence, to be honest. I actually, people don't believe this. I'm like probably suffer from a lack of confidence. Like I have, like I'm super like introverted and shy and timid. And so I think just asking for help and having people jump at the chance to be in my corner, I think it just gave me more confidence that I wasn't alone and that I had a team, that I was free to be myself, be authentic, and it was okay. And so I think after that moment, actually, even a lot of things changed with how I would even speak to the media. Like I was always so scared in the media that I would say something wrong and I didn't want to do anything wrong. And I think after that, I realized, you know what, I'm just going to be me and I've got these people and I feel okay with it. And I think that's really what changed for me is that I knew for sure that I had a support system and people in my corner no matter what.
That foundation is so important. And I think you learn that in motherhood, tenfold. You need people in your corner when they say it takes a village. And listen, I didn't have anywhere to go or anything to do becoming a mom. And when you talk about coming back from, having a child, having a knee surgery, and I watch all of these curlers, they're on 2 or 3 weeks later with their newborns. And like, I couldn't get off the couch. And so it's just so incredible to see, but there's no time like having a newborn baby where asking for help is so incredibly important.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. And I think it gives you really good perspective. And all of a sudden you change your perspective in the sense that you want your child to live the best possible life. And so you see what the best possible life could be or your vision of it. And for me, it was like, well, asking for help or just being in the moment and not worrying about what everybody else is thinking or saying. Because you don't want that for them either. And so, yeah, like I was I was pregnant and had my surgery while I was pregnant and then rehabbed it with my growing belly and driving having it was my right leg. So I needed people to drive me while I was on crutches because I couldn't drive and just always just needing, people to do those things. And then my mom basically retired from her job so that she could come on the road and help me and be there with her grandchildren. So she had retired but was working casual and then all of a sudden she just gave it all up because that's what she wanted to do. And Brent and I couldn't have done it all the things that we did without her, but like it was very important for me to have Isabella on the road. So Isabella did not miss an event for 3 years. She came to every single one. And I think Skyla would have been the same, but then COVID happened. So she didn't come to as many and she came early. And then all of a sudden COVID happened and Isabella was in school and it was getting a little bit more challenging. But it was, yeah, like I do think it takes a village, but I don't know. I think curling helped me be in the moment with my kids more because you are on the road and you're trying to, you know, I don't like to use the word balance, but trying to do many things. And so when I was with her, she got all of my attention. I made sure of it. So I remember all those little moments. So I don't regret any of that either. I feel like I was able to cherish every single second I had with her and with Skyla. Skyla was just, um, we just didn't, she
Different
didn't come on the
timing.
road. Yeah, she just didn't come on the road as much. So, but then she did I remember having two of them on the road and so Skyla needed all the baby stuff. Bella needed her stuff. I had two car seats. I was traveling by myself because my team was flying out of Winnipeg and I was flying out of Toronto. My mom was out of Winnipeg. I had the cart. I remember having Isabella on my back, Skyla on the carrier on my front, and trying to heave up the luggage off the luggage carousel and stack it really high on the luggage cart. And I wish somebody could have videoed it.
Like pure chaos.
Oh yeah. And how I think it's why Bella matured so quickly because she was my little helper on the road when Skyla came. She would have been 3.5 and I needed her to help me get things and get the diaper out of the bag. And so she was like Miss Independent. And it's just interesting to see how everything evolves.
I remember seeing you and Brent and Grandma Carol and both girls pull up to a few different events to the host hotels and just a never ending amount of supplies and baggage and accessories coming out of the trunk. Brent telling everyone like you guys packed light and it's just like 4 luggage carts coming in. But it's incredible to think what goes into something and the public only sees or people around only see a percentage of it. And it's just, there's so much that goes into making that happen. And yeah. I'm forever in awe of everyone traveling with their children on the road to, make special experiences for them and to have that extra time while still chasing a dream. You had said something, Jen, just about, visualizing or what you envisioned your life with your children or for them to be like. How important was visualization overall in achieving your goals and milestones? Did you always have a clear vision of success before you reached these major accomplishments, or how did that play in?
That's a tough one for me because it's a little bit of both. I never curled for the podium. So for me, I curled because I loved it. I loved it. I loved the feeling of being out there. I love the smell of the ice. I love trying to get better. I love trying to push myself and being a part of a team and seeing how we could do it. I loved seeing women's curling evolve over the how many years I played and being a part of that movement. That was really exciting for me. So I didn't really sit and visualize, okay, I want to be an Olympic champion, right? From the very beginning. But then when we go into an event, I really worked on, because I didn't have a ton of confidence. So I really worked on, self-talk and trying to tell myself certain things and then visualizing the outcome. So I think it was a little bit of both. I think the big picture for me it was more about being in the moment and not looking too far ahead and just soaking it up and enjoying it. But then when I was at those big events, I really worked on just visualizing success at the end of it and seeing that it could be a reality and knowing that it could come to fruition. And so I do think visualization is really important and just trying to see where you can go. And even sometimes visualizing your shot, trying to see how it can travel down the ice and trying to see that line. But I think for me, it was always really what it helped me with. It was a belief in myself and a belief that, we could do it. And that no matter what, I'd be proud of myself. And that was the biggest hurdle to overcome because I'm always striving for perfection. And when I wasn't perfect, it was always, I was very, very self-critical and wanting to be better. And so I think it helped with that, just saying, okay, it's possible. But at the end of the day, it's okay if it doesn't happen.
Self-belief is so incredibly important and something I talk to clients about all the time. What happened when you wavered from that place? How did you get back to that belief?
Talking to people who believed in me, I think, and just having them remind me. Sometimes I think it just, as much as you need to take control and take, you want to take control of yourself and what you're doing. I think sometimes it's nice for a third party to encourage you and to say the things that you want to hear or that you need to hear. And so if you surround yourself, like your teammates or your coaches, your like and you've been a great source of belief for me because you believe in me, and just so being around people who know you can do it and who exude confidence sometimes will get you through those hurdles where you're maybe stuck in a rut or you're in this place where maybe you're just kind of suffering from a little bit of lack of confidence. So I think, and then at the end of the day, you just have to remember, like, maybe go back and watch a video, or if you've written down something in a journal, like read those things. And it was interesting. I just did a keynote speech actually last week, and this gentleman came up to me and he wanted me to write something in his book. And I said, "Oh, what's the book for?" And he said, "Well, it's my motivational book, or my," can't remember exactly what he called it, but basically he reads it every day and it's all just positive thoughts. So he wanted me to write a positive thought, and he said, it's coming from an Olympian, Olympic gold medalist. So I have to believe it. So he would write it in his book. And so I wrote something in his book that would hopefully encourage him that day. And so he's got, I think, about 30 quotes in there, and he would just flip to random pages every day and read them. So I thought, what a great idea. Like, because you write in there, or you have somebody else write in there, whatever it may be, on a day when you have belief in yourself or these people believe in you. And so maybe on a day that you're struggling, you can go back and read them and remind yourself how great you are, or that you've got so much potential.
Hey, we need to find this man. I love that idea.
Okay, right?
Right?
Yeah.
I
felt pressure.
Yes.
So I felt like a lot of pressure to write something really like remarkable.
Yes.
I think I nailed it. But yeah, like it wasn't just I wanted to make sure it was good. Like if he was going there, he needed some.
Yes.
He needed to be great.
I need to know, what you wrote. I want to talk to this man and have him on this show. I need him to read some of these pages. And I also would love just like a book of Jade quotes. So that's something we should get in the works, because I think there'd be a lot of people who would be able to take a lot out of that. What a brilliant idea.
You know what? Tom Brady just said something the other day, which we talked about all the time on my curling teams, and I wrote it down. He said, to be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't: consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, it's not like a secret formula. It's just hard work and determination. And I say passion. Like if you're passionate and you're doing what you love to do, I never ever felt like, even people would talk about how long this season was or how much of a grind it was. You'll never ever hear me say that the season was a grind, because I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I was doing what I loved to do. I was so passionate about it, and I felt so honored. So many people go through life and they don't find their passion, and I was lucky enough to do that. So I love that quote from Tom Brady. It's so true. Anybody can do anything. You just have to work for it.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about that level of discipline, right? And I talk a lot about this with clients. People think you're going to wake up motivated, lucky, right? With an opportunity knocking on your door. And it's not. It comes down to discipline always. That hard work. It's just the perspective you have about it. For you, it didn't feel hard, right?
Yeah, no.
And so that's the absolute difference between perspectives and how important it is that some people look at the season as long and a grind and all those things. And it doesn't have to be. You're in control of how you see it.
Yeah. And like Janet Arnott, one of our coaches, used to say, and I remember she had this mirror, because she's like, you get to choose your attitude every day, and you get to choose your face. Like, how you, if you came into an early morning meeting, you're like, right? Or I guess people can't see me, but you don't have that like excitement face. So she had this mirror, and we were supposed to look at ourselves before we'd come into the meeting. It was out in the hall, and we had to look at ourselves and make sure that we looked a certain way and that we were ready to be in the meeting. And I mean, you're right. Like you get to choose your attitude. I mean, it's something that your kindergarten teacher probably said to you, but it's such a true statement that every day we get to choose our attitude. And sometimes it's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. It's not just every day, but I never, ever once, ever didn't want to go to practice or didn't want to go on the road. I was always the one that wanted to have a more grueling, we'll say grueling, I don't like, schedule. Like I love to play. I love to compete. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to work harder than everybody and see where it could take us. So yeah, it's just interesting to me because I never ever, so there's a lot of talk about how long the schedule is and how, and it's just for me, it was never about that. Like I never needed a break from curling.
That's
Like I just didn't.
that's a pretty incredible statement. And it just goes to show that the way that you viewed what you were doing, it wasn't anything but, an honor and an experience. And that gratitude that you pour into that, I honestly think is what you get out.
I think so too. And it did help for, especially when the kids were young and they weren't in school, that my family was with me. So I was doing what I loved to do. I was surrounded with my family and the people that I loved. I never, ever regretted missing out on anything because I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And, in our family, a birthday is not usually on its birthday. We celebrate it multiple times throughout the year, like,
or in an arena. We threw many a Bella birthday party.
Yeah, right. You just make do, and our kids are super flexible with that. Like, we can celebrate. It's just a day. We can pick the day that we want to celebrate, right? And so, yeah, I was just always full of gratitude. And it was hard for me in some ways because I was usually in the minority when it came to talking about this. And so I think a lot more people do find the schedule a little bit long and, want to do less and need a break, just rest and recovery, as they say. But I don't know, I never felt like I had to recover from it. I felt like it gave me energy. I felt like taking a break actually was an energy sucker rather than.
Yeah.
So that's a different mindset.
100%.
And it's fine. Like everybody's different, right? But curling for me was always an escape. Even when I was a kid, it was a place where I felt completely at home and at peace. And as a shy kid, it was a place where I felt really comfortable. So it always gave me energy.
There is a specific moment, a turning point where you realized you had to come out of your shell. And I know you've talked about it before. You were so shy, so introverted, and it just was not your comfort zone. And then stepping into a role as skip, you don't have a choice. What was the turning point for you, recognizing that you have to be a bigger, take up more space than you were used to in that role?
I remember we had a sports psychologist, Cal Botterill, who's very well known, one of my favorite people in the world. And we had to do this personality assessment. I'm like, well, do I fill it out for like me on the ice or do I fill it out for me off the ice? He's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I feel like I have to become a different person. And so we worked a lot on that. And I mean, I did. Like on the ice, I became what I thought my team needed me to be. And like you said, maybe that's, I don't know if I've ever heard it like that, but take up more space or really be a leader and have them look at me like Janet would say, and have them look at me and have them believe that, I believed in them and that I believed in us and that we were going to accomplish great things together. And so that was the role that I kind of stepped into. Like that's the role I accepted. And I skipped pretty much my entire career except for a couple of years. And one when I was little because I understood the game because I was like Isabella. That's all I would do is watch curling, but I couldn't watch it on YouTube. I had to go to the curling club. But yeah, it was just more about, I don't know, I skipped and I liked it because for the introvert, I could be off on my own sometimes. But then all of a sudden I realized, but even though you're off on your own, you actually still have to have a presence. And it was Cal that really kind of helped me see what that presence was. And that initial team with like Kathy and Dana and then Dawn and then Jill, like that team, we had a lot of meetings about kind of each and every one of our roles and where that meant that I had to be. So, and then I think I learned how to step out of my shell on the ice, but it wasn't until many years later that I kind of stepped out of my shell publicly, like where I was more open in the media. And, you get burned a few times in the media and it's very hard. Like, and people you're just so scared to say the wrong thing and have it taken out of context that I just became very, I don't know, like one word answers.
Reserved. Just like,
good.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. How is the game? Good. Or So when it was after that, I think it was after I had Isabella, where I just felt, you know what, I'm so content and happy and just content in my life that, I feel like I can handle any criticism. Like you became tough enough that you could handle, I felt secure enough that I could handle criticism. And it took me a long time to get there.
What don't people know about getting burned in that way? What was it like for you to experience?
Um, I think a few things is that it impacts more than just you, and I don't know if people realize that, like, you have to, like, your friends are sad about it, your parents, your siblings, um, that you want to scream from the rooftops that it's not true, but you can't because then there's just no avenue to try to correct it. You try to correct it and it just opens a whole can of worms. And so I think as much as you don't want it to, it just slowly eats away at your self-confidence and it just makes you unexplainably sad. Like it just feels like you've been criticized in the most public forum possible. And that this was before social media and now in social media. And actually it's been great that way in the sense that, you know, I don't read a lot of the comments but Isabella can read now. And so she goes on there and she can see, not to say that she's got open access to social media, but like I might have it open and she'll see. And if somebody says something, I don't know, they didn't like my hairstyle or whatever it might be. Like, and for those that wonder, I don't know how to do hair very well. So, and I get headaches if my hair is in a ponytail there. I've done it. That's why my hair is not in a ponytail and why, yeah.
So if you're wondering, live from a dark basement corner somewhere, that's why Jen's hair looks like that from time to time.
Yeah.
It's out there. We've done it.
I put it up in a messy bun often in everyday life, but it's loose and it will fall out if I'm curling. And if I do it too tight, I do suffer from migraines. So that's why, just in case people are wondering. But anyway, so if Bella's reading this and this story or something negative, and she's like, Mom, doesn't that hurt your feelings? And I said, Bella, these people don't even know Mom. They're just making some random comment, probably to hurt me. Maybe they just cheer for somebody else or whatever it may be. And I choose not to listen. I choose to not let it affect me. And honestly, it does affect me a little bit, but not to the same degree that it used to. And I said, this is very important for you because as you get older, you may have friends or people say mean things and just choose to not believe it. Choose not to accept it because they don't truly know you. And the friends that are around you, they know you. And that's who you have to believe. And so there's pros and cons to it. I feel like it's been a really good parent lesson, like really good learning lesson for our kids because they do have to, it's just a part of reality and you don't want them to be knocked down as they become teenagers and, people criticizing them and it's going to happen, but you just have to really, really focus on all the good stuff. And so it was really hard. I'm not going to lie, like, especially when it first happened, it was devastating and it was really hard and it really impacted me for a long time, probably for a few years where I just felt like I really affected my self-confidence and made me walk on eggshells. And I was so scared to be authentically me and really, really scared to do interviews. And then I kind of just eventually just said, you know what, I am who I am and I like who I am and I'm going to be me and we'll just go with that. And it's been a lot healthier for me.
Yeah, of course. And when you can look around you and understand that your people, your community, they're supporting you, but they know what's true about you. And I say this a lot to clients in coaching. It's just like, what do you know to be true? Right? External, whether it's feedback or validation, I mean, it's human nature. We're all going to buy into it to a certain degree. But what do you know to be true about yourself? Because there's no amount of convincing that you would have ever done to tell people differently. And it's the same with social media. You see trolls all the time. You see negative comments all the time. You don't have to give up your own energy to prove something is true or false about you. And I can't imagine just on the kids these days going through social media and having to understand that very tough lesson. Nobody could shit talk me through my pager in high school. Thank God.
You had a pager. Look at you.
And your song, like your voicemail song, reflected all your feelings. That was the extent of it for us. But no, I really do. It's a lesson that needs to be taught and learned. And I think what you're saying is so incredibly valuable. Of they don't know you, and you have nothing to prove to people who don't. So, I'm really glad you were able to share that lesson, but also, build that thick skin and barrier for people who the only reason you do that to somebody is to make yourself feel better in some capacity, I have to imagine. And so,
Yeah, I don't, and I truly don't understand. Like, I just don't get it. I never will. I don't see the point of posting something negative, but whatever, to each their own.
yeah,
And like you said, and yeah, and you just have to, what do you know about yourself? You're right. What do you know? And even if you have to write it down and sometimes convince yourself, but, and also just surrounding yourself with people who love you and who care about you and who can remind you when you need that reminder that you're good and it's all good. And that's who you live your life for. When you're when your life is coming to an end, you're not going to sit back and remember the people who didn't know you. You're going to remember the people who were impactful in your life, who cared about you, who made a difference. And that's what you're going to remember.
yeah, the people who made you feel that certain way. And then strive to make others feel that way in return, I think is what you would reflect on more than anything. When we talk about this and it's like you had to reset and refocus energy through some of these times, there are also, isolated moments where you would have had to experience that as well. So talk to me about in a moment where you've experienced some sort of disappointment. How do you get back to your baseline? How do you reset and refocus, let's say in a game? I know that there was the 10th end in the trials in 21. It was a,
Yeah, it was tough. It was a
yeah,
shot like to win. And I think for me, I mean, Victor was there and he was great. Like, he said exactly what I needed to hear. And then I
what
think
was
for
that?
just, he looked at me in the eyes. He wasn't scared to look at me. And I think that says a lot. And he just said, "You've got this. You've got this." And that's all he said. But it was just his presence and how he looked at me. He didn't look at me like, "Oh, you poor thing." He looked at me like, "No big deal. We'll just figure this out and you've got this." And he looked square at me in the eyes. And I always notice that, like, because people avoid eye contact a lot. And I think if you can look at people in the eyes, it shows a lot, especially when you're trying to be there for them. Make that eye contact. But I think, yeah, disappointment is just, I think for me, and I look back actually to 2005 is probably the biggest example for me. I didn't play very well that game. And I remember it was in the ninth end, and I just said, "Just leave me a shot to win, you guys. I promise. I promise I'm still here. Like, I promise. Like, just believe in me." And um, yeah, and then it was just, for me, it's when I don't play well or I don't, if I feel like I've kind of let my team down, it almost makes me focus more and makes me want, I don't ever want to let them down. I don't care about letting myself down, but I don't want to let other people down. And, that game that you're talking about, the trials or '05, I felt like I had let my team down. And then all of a sudden there was an opportunity to win that game and to make a good shot. And it makes, like, I feel like everything goes into slow motion because I'm just so focused on what I have to do and so determined. And I'm not scared. I'm never scared to miss or make a mistake. I just really want to, as Cal would say, I really want to, but I don't have to. I want to do this. I want to be successful, but it's not going to define me. And so in those moments, it's just more about, and Cal taught me this. He's like, you don't miss very often. So if you did miss, well, you're lucky. It's over with. So the next one you should make. So it's just about, like, believing that it was just a one-off, right? Like, not a fluke, but just go out there and perform your best, and you never know what's going to happen.
Pretty incredible, honestly. Everything you said is just like the control you have, the choice you have in that perspective.
Yeah, and it's, again, like, even when I hurt my knee, like, I was so worried about letting my team down. And I remember '05 vividly. Like, I remember, like, feeling like I totally let them down. It was the worst I had ever played in a big game, and all of a sudden we had a shot to win, and I just thought it was like miracle, right? Like, we have this opportunity to win this game, and And then it happened. And same with the trials. We make a good draw on my last one, and you never know what's going to happen. And we ended up winning that game. So it's pretty. It's just more about not being scared to miss and not being scared to lose, and just really just trying to lay it all out there. And you never know what's going to happen.
And I had used the term disappointment. It sounds like that didn't even cross your mind. It was just a part of the
No,
process.
it wasn't like no. It's just when I'm in the moment, disappointment doesn't. You know, it doesn't come across
Yeah.
my brain. Maybe afterwards, like but when you're actually in the moment and you're trying your best, it's just more about more grit and determination. Like it's almost like it makes me focus more. I mean, after and you're reflecting, you're disappointed for sure, but not in the moment because you've got a goal, you've got a vision. So I think it almost streamlines my vision a little bit more. Like it really makes me focus.
And if you were to apply that concept just in life, when you're going through challenging moments, where it's just, okay, what is the goal? What action do I need to take to make this feel better or get back to my baseline? Right? It kind of mirrors that, where it's like, you don't have to sit in that, in a low
No.
point or, an error or a mistake as a human.
No, I think when you're in a low point, you should be like dead focused on, okay, what can I do? Like, what are the things that I can do? Or instead of, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And you're allowed to sit there for a minute. For sure you are. But it's like, okay, what is the first step I can do to try to get myself out of this? And on the curling ice, it's okay, what can I do to be there for my team? What can I do to try to change the momentum? And, and wallowing in self pity is never up there on the top of the list about how you can try to improve the situation. So when you're in the moment, I think you have to focus on the resolution and not exactly what happened. You have to, okay, so what can I do to change this? I don't like this feeling. Like, what can I do to change it?
Yeah, I love that. And I do think that translates to life events so well. And you don't want to, you can sit there for a minute, but you never want to get comfortable there.
No, it's not. Well, it's not a comfortable place to be. So you don't want to be comfortable there.
No.
It's a terrible feeling. So and yeah. And when you have a good support and you have a good team, that's when you lean on them and just say, okay, like what do I need? What do I need to do to get myself out of this funk?
Such amazing advice. When we look at, overall your career, you have been at the top of your game for so long. You and I, unfortunately, can connect on this topic that I want to bring up. And you have been, oh gosh, I already just got emotional, like way too early for this to happen. But you have been a pillar of strength for me in the loss of my mother. When I came into the curling world, I was really fresh off an incredible loss. Only a couple weeks, actually. I'd lost my mom 6 weeks prior to starting with the Grand Slam of curling. And I remember when we first met and the first kind of conversation we had, and you had asked about where I had come from and my background and my parents. And, always, staying curious with people is something I notice about you, which is a beautiful quality. And through that and our conversations, and then, watching you at the Olympics, I remember there was a feature with you and Isabella at home, only one cheering you on, or 18 months cheering you on. And I bawled the entire time. And I remember getting to hug you the first time after, at the Players Championship, you had come back and fresh off the gold medal. And it was just, we had such a special conversation. You've helped me so much. And then unfortunately in 2019, you experienced the loss of your father. And I was able to be there for some conversations with you through that. And I know he was such a huge support and he was your biggest fan and the reason behind your passion for curling. Despite such a significant loss, you kept going at the top of your game. How do you think, A, the grief impacted you, and B, you kept going?
Oh,
I'm
make
sorry.
me cry.
I know, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, my dad was just a remarkable man. And the reason that I curled really, like, so he was very involved in the Same Hotel Curling Club, and he just loved curling. But I think my dad and he always taught me to love the game, but I never really truly, I thought I did, but I never really truly understood what he meant until he was gone. And I'll be forever grateful for that. Like, he loved curling and he loved the people and sharing stories and just living life to the fullest. And he was the reason that I was never scared to miss, because I was doing what I loved to do. But then when he was gone, I could feel his presence still. And I think it's because he had this, somebody said to me, he was like an omni dad. He was going to be ever present no matter where I was. And you know why? For me, yes, he was an incredible dad and he taught me so many lessons and I felt loved every single second of the day. But I had curling and he was always going to be present on the curling ice.
Yeah.
And so when I was out there, I could feel his presence and I could feel his joy and his love. And he would talk to anybody like for hours and hours and hours. And he would just, and he taught me to make sure I listened to people, to make sure I heard their stories, because, maybe I'd made an impact on them and that I should take the time to listen to them. And that was my dad. But because of his love of the game, I still feel his presence. And I'm very grateful for curling for that. And I think it was one of the reasons that I was sad to retire, because it meant that I was going to have to say goodbye to him again, because that was our connection, right? Like, and I remember his eye would always water and my eye would not stop watering at those Olympic trials. And I'm like, he's here. It's really annoying. But I'm like,
you need this eye.
I'm getting a really bad burn on my eye from like rubbing it so much. But yeah, like I think for me, it was a very sudden way to lose my dad. He passed away very suddenly, but I had just come back from an event in China, actually. And so I'd gone to Winnipeg to see them 5 days before he passed away. So I was very lucky because we didn't live in the same place. And we were talking about the win because we had just won at this event. And he would always tell me, you're pretty good at curling, hey? And I'm like, not bad. Like, he would always say that. And the last thing he said to me as I was leaving, um, I said to him, I said, you know how much I love you, right, Dad? And he's like, oh, honey, I know. And I love you so much. And that was the last thing my dad ever said to me. And I'm very grateful that I had that conversation, but that I actually just knew because of our relationship and how much he loved curling. And I'm grateful that his love of curling transcended to me, so that even in his death, I still felt that he was alive when I was on the ice. And I still could feel him out there and saying things to me. And when we won the last Olympic trials, I could feel that he was there. And I like to believe he was. And regardless, he was a part of me. And I look back to even when I didn't bring Isabella. So she was 13 months when we went to the Olympics. And, I got all these letters from people that I couldn't believe that I left her behind. They're like, curling was not more important than having a family and whatever. But I had decided, it was best for her. And I just remember feeling like, oh, she's just not going to be a part of it. Like, and this big moment in my life. And then a friend, and not a friend, well, now a friend of mine, but a photographer who had taken my picture found Isabella at my mother-in-law's and took pictures of her and sent this whole video collage to Sochi of her with her Canada flag cheering away. And it was to Sarah McLachlan's Arms of an Angel.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. So
I got that song.
So I got this right before the semifinal. And I share this story because it reminded me Isabella's always going to be a part of it. Like, she was a part of it because I got this and I could feel her. But because I could feel her, I'm like, she's always inside of me. Mm. She's always a part of me. And Skyla now is too. And so for my dad, I realized that even though he died, he's always inside of me. He's changed me. He's helped my perspective. He taught me how to curl. He taught me how to love curling. He taught me how to be a good teammate and like to just I don't know, he's the one, he was so outgoing. He taught me how to be authentic and real. And so even though he wasn't with me, I felt like he was, and it was because of curling. And then I knew that my kids would always be a part of it. And I think that that's also the reason I really wanted to make sure Skylar remembered, because of my connection with my dad on the ice. I wanted her to feel that connection too. And so that's why I played for as long as I did. And I, so I'm really grateful for curling for that, because losing a parent is the worst feeling in the entire world. And curling has given me a connection to him forever. And I'm really, really grateful.
And I think a lot of people, myself included, seek that connection out from anywhere you can, right? Sometimes it comes from a place of need or want, or some days it's desperation. You just want that connection. And for you to be able to go back and that the sport be just such an extension of your love for each other and your relationship, and to have the girls be part of that is such a beautiful thing. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind he was present for all of those special moments. Your dad was like, he was curling. Right? It's like not only his like feelings towards it, his knowledge of the game, all those things, but it's like why people, when you get into curling, it's hard to get out because you see this beautiful community. And it is those conversations and the connections that you make. But he was the epitome of all of those things. And now you get to live that with the girls. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. And so I'm sad to share that, experience a significant loss with you, but I am also so grateful for being able to share it just the same.
Yeah. And, people will say like, it's hard to talk about, and it is. But my fear was if I didn't talk about it, I'd forget.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about him. I like it. It makes me feel like his memory will live on. And to this day, Skylar, who was 3 years old when he passed away, she still talks about Grandpa Larry. She still includes him when she has to put, her family for an assignment for school. And it's because we talk about him all the time. And my dad loved a good scotch. So on any significant occasion, like Father's Day or his birthday or, Christmas, or we always, and I hate scotch, but we always have a glass of scotch in honor of my dad. We toast him, and the kids have like a special drink. We have these special glasses, and we will share a grandpa story, or we'll share. And so we talk about him and make sure that, he's never forgotten, because he was a really good person. He was a really good human being. Like he would volunteer and help out anybody who needed anything. And we talk a lot about that, because I hope that part of him will continue to live on and inspire our girls to be the good person that he was, because he really was fabulous. He embarrassed me sometimes because he was so talkative and he would talk about anything. And the shy person me, I'm like, Dad. And he would tell these jokes that he thought was funny that we didn't. But, that's what I want them to have, his inhibitions and his love of like socializing and just love of kindness. Like he helped out anybody in need, anybody. He would do anything for anybody.
And that big personality is such a gift. And I think it's so cool to be able to share that with people, the best parts of yourself. And he definitely did. And I think, honestly, honoring the people that we miss the most or we have lost through memories and stories, yes, it can be hard some days, but it also is such a big part of the healing process. And I think it's so beautiful to share that with the kids. And
yeah, it's awesome. My mom got us, for his service, we each got a glass. And she had it engraved with something that was special for us about my dad. So we use that glass and we toast him. So it's always a memory.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And I honestly am just so grateful you and I are able to chat about these things. And right now recording, but off on our own, we've been able to share some really special moments and tough moments too. But it's nice to have somebody. There's nothing quite like someone looking at you, again, dead in the eyes and being like, I get it.
Yeah. And then giving you a hug.
Yeah.
Sometimes words are not necessary.
And you're just like, yeah.
And everybody always says like, and if they have somebody they care about that suffered loss, they never know what to say. And I always say, saying something is better than saying nothing. And it doesn't have to be words. Like just go and give a hug or just something. but don't be scared and don't be absent, because that's worse than saying the wrong thing.
Yeah. And truly, nothing helps.
No.
So like dig for something profound. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Just
No,
the
no.
presence, just being there. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. I mean, you learn a
Yeah.
lot. It's part of those life lessons we keep coming back to, but I've learned more about myself in that process. And what is important and what you want to reflect on later in your life and all of those things. And it sounds like it's been exactly the same way for you.
Yep, for sure it has.
Switching gears a little bit to something that's not going to make us scream cry, or me, but I have had the honor, I would call it, to work very closely with you on the last two teams and leading into that 2021 Olympic trials. What was your experience coming together with vulnerability, the team, and myself, having those conversations to get prepped for that major event, which you went on to win?
Well, I will say that having emotional conversations is probably my worst nightmare. Okay. Like it's just not something that I like to do.
So what I just did to you.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. But but I found like working with you, it's just been natural. Like I never feel, I never feel uncomfortable. I mean, maybe a little bit sometimes because you're getting vulnerable, but I always felt like it was for an end purpose. And again, we were surrounded with this team that would support each other. So you felt like you were in a really safe space. And if you can get in that safe space and you can talk about your fears or, how you can help and what you need as a team, collectively, individually, it moved mountains. And I think those are the conversations that really helped us develop the team dynamics and the team chemistry that we needed in order to be successful. And for me personally, it just helped me be more comfortable in myself and just more content and happy. And I honestly, like I think it was a really big reason for our success. So you were amazing. But what I think the key for you and what you did for us is just create that safe space. Create it so everybody felt that they could be authentic, that they would never be judged, and that we could figure out a solution for everything. And not like we had all these problems or anything, we didn't, but it was just more about enhancing, like just enhancing and evolving and coming up with strategies to make us feel our most confident in the biggest moments of our lives. And so we came up with those strategies and everything kind of came to be. And so, it was just a really big joy. So I'm super grateful. So thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, I am beyond grateful for the experience. And we knew, like, the craziest part about it is we truly knew. And it really shone a light for me on like what it means to cultivate belief in yourself or belief in a goal or objective. I remember Lisa Weagle called me like Victor called me, but immediately after you had won, and I think waiting for doping or something along those lines. And Lisa called and she just said like, oh my God, we knew 100% that this is what was going to happen. And I think just building that unwavering belief. And honestly, I just asked the questions. You guys had everything you needed. It was just a matter of, especially in this situation, making sure everybody was taking care of themselves to then come together and get the clarity and build what you needed to in the team space. And it was a lot of fun seeing that come to fruition. So yes, thank you. Thank you for that phone call where you said, would you be willing to?
See, it's me thinking outside the box. Like, hey, what can we do different? And it's just more, we needed to create like, positive energy. And especially around, all of a sudden COVID happened and trying to create that connectivity when we are all were in different places. And, so it was a really great phone call. And then we just created a map and a plan and how we thought, where success would get, what we needed in order to get to that end success goal. And you really helped us kind of make sure we checked off the boxes and got to that end goal. And then it all happened.
It was crazy.
Yay!
I know. It was insane. Okay. This has been incredible. And I mean, getting to talk to you on a regular basis, coaching process, either in business and just being your friend is my honor. But you taking a time out of your morning to do this with me and to have these conversations, I am eternally grateful. So thank you so much for being my first guest. It means the absolute world to me.
Oh, I wanted to be your first guest, so I'm honored.
I love that so much. And I just have a couple quick questions. It's how I am going to wrap all of my interview episodes up. And I'm so interested to hear what you have to say. First thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So
I'm nervous.
I know. I'm sorry. It like totally puts you on the spot, but you've got this. Okay. Which habit do you religiously commit to, couldn't live without?
Hugging my kids.
Can you describe yourself in one word?
Passionate.
What is the primary factor that contributes to your success?
Determination.
Do you follow a specific motto or repeat a self-affirmation?
Enjoy the moment.
When did you realize that you were destined for big things?
Still don't know if I've realized that, but you know what? Honestly, I feel like I'm living in this surreal life. So that's not a one word answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so.
But kind of fun to think about anyways, even if it has to be, you take it away.
Yeah.
What is something interesting about you that not many people know? Doesn't have to be one word, but just what comes to your mind.
That I can listen and remember like multiple conversations at one time.
Oh, very cool. That's your like lawyer brain.
Yeah. If we're in a crowded room and people are having other conversations, I know exactly what's going on in multiple conversations.
Everyone remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
To surround yourself with people who believe in you.
I love that. And you've given us that advice today many times. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be a very key takeaway from this last hour together. I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much for being my first guest. I am so excited to share all of this with fans and the curling community and anybody who's going to tune in. Thank you so much, Jen.
You're welcome. It's my honor. Thank you.